Hi guys, Kaiser here, and welcome back to the AoE3 Noob Cup 2. We are in our second quarterfinal series. We've got Casper in the blue, a returning victor from one of our qualifier sets, playing as the Japanese, up against newcomer Hothir in the red, playing as the Swedes. This should be an interesting matchup. I mean, again, we have that same dynamic as with the last quarterfinal set. One of the players, Casper, having won a qualifier series, coming into this with a little bit of a psychological boost. You know that you've pulled this off once, you can do it again. But on the other hand, Hothir has that intelligence advantage where he's able to go back and watch games that Casper's played, watch games that others have played, and perhaps can contour and customize his strategy around what he's seeing others do. So this should be a really interesting matchup. Our map is Colorado, a frosty mountainous region with a trading route that meanders through the choke points. And indeed, we do see that there are, I'd say, 2 trading posts on Casper's side. Or maybe you grab these 2, 1 and 2 right here. You know, I'll say 1 that's firmly in Casper's camp, 1 that's firmly in Hothir's camp, and then these 2 in the middle, which I could very easily see being contested. Oh my goodness, let me pull up Fog of War real quick. This is really cool. This is something I do not do when I play as the Japanese, and I need to take some notes. Casper bringing in some cool moves, using one of his orchard rickshaws to explore the map early. That's really clever. I like that a lot. That is, of course, on top of having not 1 but 2 different explorers. I read that, I was talking with my wife, and she says that Goshin no Tajima, apparently, I think it's the Goshin part means arrow cutter. He was a real historical figure who was famous for being able to use his blade to, his samurai sword, to like slice through arrows coming at him. And, you know, it's kind of famous for his defense of a city or a castle, something like that. A very cool historical figure. I don't have anything about Kosa. Nor do I have anything about our Swedish explorer, Adolf Nordenskjold. But I'm sure some history fans can maybe chime in on that one down in the comments below. Speaking of which, if you like this tournament, if you like this series, let me know in the comments below. And if you would, share a like, share a subscribe. I really appreciate each and every one of you that does that. The Japanese are interesting because I think that so far they are the only the only civilization in the tournament so far that is not European that I've seen. And, you know, if you have watched some of my videos leading up to the Noob Cup, and I put out a video on, you know, what are the easiest civs to learn, what civilizations do I expect to see in the Noob Cup, I think the Japanese ranked pretty highly among the Asian civilizations. I would pick Japan before I would pick China or India. One of the reasons why I really like their cherry orchards. You start out with 2 cherry orchard rickshaws. One of them, obviously, you can use around to scout for a little while, but the other one you pop right down near your town center. And this allows your villagers to collect food right beside the town center. This is a very safe way of collecting food. It makes them harder to raid, which is really great. So I really like the defensive nature of Japan's economy. You also get the consulate, which is an interesting building. And we can actually see Japan has already picked an ally. Japan has picked the Portuguese as their ally. So with the ports, I believe they get some water text, which won't be useful here, but they also get the Order Beisseiros or something like that, crossbowmen that the Portuguese can send. I believe they can send some organ guns as well. So crossbows, artillery coming from the Portuguese, an interesting pickup indeed. Hothir, meanwhile, in the red, playing as the Swedes. Again, their main thing is the torp. And the better you can use your torps, and you can use them as kind of pseudo-villagers, the better. Torps slowly gather resources around the torp. So you can collect, they spawn with 1 berry bush, so they'll slowly work away in the berry bush, helping out your food. You put them near a mine, they will slowly collect from the mine. You put them near trees, they will slowly collect near the trees. And they can only collect from 1 of each at a time, but you know, if you're clever, you can get a berry bush and a mine and a tree all from one torp. So that's really, you can even, you know, if you're able to lure the hunt over to the torp and then shoot the deer down next to the torps can even collect from the deer. So a really interesting option there. Both players at the 5-minute mark. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. Hothir's already up to the second age, commerce age. Casper on his way there. Hothir going really heavy into wood. And I believe he's doing that because he wants to be able to afford a barracks and possibly some infrastructure as well. Both players, let's see, 20 vills for Casper, 20 vills for Hothir. This is a very evenly matched game so far. I forgot to mention this. The one native camp that we see, here we go, the Toshugu Shrine has been built for the Japanese, bringing him up to the second age. Of course, with Asian civilizations, you have to build a wonder in order to go up to the next age. And so we have Toshogu. It's a super shrine. Remember, the Japanese don't get regular houses. They get shrines, which slowly generate resources, especially if there's deer nearby. The Japanese are not allowed to hunt deer, but instead they can use the deer with their shrines to make their resource generation even better. And the Toshogu Shrine is a super shrine that supports a lot of population and generates a lot of resources. Okay, so that's a really nice economy pickup. Notice it doesn't just help out with that shrine, but also gives you the Tomb of Ieyasu, which boosts the resource generation rate of all other shrines. So all of Casper's shrines will be doing a little bit better because the Toshogu Shrine has been built. Now back over here to the native camp, we have our one option is the Cheyenne. They come with a Cheyenne Rider, which is a horseman armed with a spear, good against other cavalry. So it's a little bit interesting. It's a melee cav unit, but a melee cav unit that does bonus damage to other cavalry. So if you see an opponent going heavy into cav, this is a great option. Now what I've noticed so far in the Noob Cup, most players will go heavy into infantry. I think that's the way a lot of people play the game. If you don't have a particular strategy, you typically open with infantry. So I would say that the Cheyenne, it's not likely that they get picked up for their unit. But sometimes you can surprise people by going in heavy into cavalry, especially if you have an opponent like the Germans, for example, who don't get musketeer, but invest heavily into crossbows or skirmisher or something like that. Then the Cheyenne can be a really good pickup because you know you don't have to worry about musketeer and any cav that they build or, you know, light infantry they should be able to handle. We got a little bit of a skirmish here, but this is a bunch of pomp and circumstance meaning nothing. No way does anything happen. Worst case scenario, Kosa dies. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, that was meaningless. Anyway, the technologies. And look at this, we have some Caroleans on the way for Hothir coming out of the barracks. So the Carolean is a really nice musketeer unit. It has a bonus ability that it can switch to bayonet mode and charge. It gets a speed boost and runs up into the enemy army very quickly. This is great if they are doing some kind of, you know, again, if they're building up a lot of cavalry, or you just need to get into melee mode very quickly. The Caroleans are really good for that. Now the Cheyenne, their techs. Cheyenne Fury only helps their unique unit, so it's useless if you're not going unique unit. Okay, Casper knows now. He lost his Explorer, and I think the Explorer actually dies. Yeah, unlike the European Explorers, the Japanese Explorers actually go down, or at least one of them. Goshin no Shijima is alive. Oh, wait a minute, that's Kosa. Okay, I'm mistaken. I don't know who died there, but... Alright, anyway. Explorer down. And here we go. Yumi Archers coming in response. This is the right call. Yumi Archers are kind of light infantry. And so light infantry, like skirmishers and crossbows, do bonus damage against heavy infantry, like musketeers, as well as light ranged cavalry, like dragoons. So this is a great pickup. Now, I don't know if the Swedes win this anyway, just from pure numbers. Oh, look at this, couple samurai coming in. The samurai gets some hits off, which snares the Caroleans. So they're going to move a little bit slower because they've been hit with melee. Oh, but wait a minute, wait a minute. Uh-oh. Blue's army's getting picked off a little bit here. You know, you got 4 left behind, only 2 here. If you split your army like this, Sweden might be able to do more damage to you than they otherwise would. And a stable coming up for Hothir. This is a great choice, and I love seeing the reactions from both players. This shows some really great adaptability, and one of the things that I think is very important to see in the Noob Cup, look for adaptability. You know, you see that Hothir opens up with Caroleans. Casper notices, goes into Yumi archers to deal with the Caroleans. Then Hothir sees that and goes into, presumably, Hussar, which will absolutely melt through light infantry like the Yumi archer. Now we have the Naginata Rider. So Casper also has a stable out. Naginata Riders are the Japanese Hussar unit. In a melee fight between Naginatas and Hussar, I'm not entirely sure who wins that stat-wise. I'll have to look at the numbers and make some comparisons there. But if he were to go, I think, Cav Archer or, again, Musketeers of his own, that would counter the Swedish Hussar. Speaking of, Swedish Hussar on the way out, along with 3 more Caroleans. I really like the rating here. This is great. You know, do what you can to slow down Hothir's economy, and try to give yourself that economic edge. You don't want to fight Caroleans here. Just get a couple of kills, slow the eco, and run. Run, 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 run. That's good. Now, one of them is... Now, he goes down, but the others... Okay, they get out with their lives. That's good. That's good, and I think that was worth it. Let's take a look at their decks real quick. Looking at the Japanese first... Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wow, that is an aggressive forward shrine right there. Hussar on the way. The Samurai trying to deal with the Hussar. Now, any kind of melee unit in the game, and I'm sure there's an exception out there somewhere, but in general, any unit that uses a sword or a spear or some kind of infantry melee unit is going to do bonus damage against cavalry. Probably the exception are like shock infantry from the Native American civs, like the Aztec or the Inca. But for the most part, when you see samurai and they're moving around with their swords, their katanas, they're gonna do anti-cavalry damage. So that's great for them. But otherwise, they're kind of they're essentially heavy infantry in the same vein as the Carolean. Now, they're gonna do better in melee than the Carolean will because that's their only attack, that's their specialty. But they're still in the same category, so it's much closer to an even fight. So Caroleans versus Samurai, probably I want to give that to the Caroleans, especially if they have numbers. But yeah, Samurai are a good choice against Hussar, and indeed they do kill off all of the Hussar. 3 more Yumi Archers coming out. Japan going pretty heavily into Yumi Archer. Let me go back to the deck here. Sub to Iron Kaiser. Yes! Thank you, Casper. Yeah, subscribe to Iron Kaiser. What a great idea, you know? Thank you, Casper. Your check is in the mail. Alright, but anyway, we see, okay, we've got strong eco options, a lot of resources. The Yumi... look at this. A bonus to Yumi Archers, a bonus to Ashigaru Musketeer, a bonus to Samurai. So, Casper wants to go pretty heavily into infantry. Here in the Third Age, we have the Renpaikan Dojo. Ships a dojo rickshaw, allowing you to construct a powerful dojo to produce your choice of military units. Now, has that actually been built already? What is this? We got... Oh! Casper ending relations with the Portuguese? Interesting. I wonder what he's going to switch to. He's switching to Japanese isolation. And if I remember correctly, that gives some bonuses to... I forget if it's your economy or what. I actually don't remember what the Japanese Isolation Alliance does. But Casper's committed to no friendship with any European civilization. He's going to go it alone. and that does provide certain bonuses. Naginata Riders trying to raid again, but this time, Caroleans were at the ready. Hothir getting up quite a few torps. Let's go to Hothir's deck real quick. Looks pretty typical. This is actually a beginner deck, so just kind of relying with the basics. A lot of economy, blueberries, which just improves the amount of food that you're collecting from your torps. Shipping a group of torp wagons, which is great. 4 torp wagons, in fact. Engelsberg Ironwork torps gather way more quickly from mines, 100% more quickly. And in the third age, we do see some range and line of sight bonuses for the Carolean. Some bonuses for artillery. We got a fort card. Not a lot in the way of unit shipments, but just solid eco steamroll decks. And I think that's kind of the theme for both players. Not a lot in the way of unit shipments. No one's trying to end the game quickly. They're trying to build up their forces and just steamroll their opponent. Now, notice this. Hothir only has 35 vills. Japan has 61. So, Japan... Excuse me. Japan has a much stronger economy. Okay? But, having said that, you cannot factor out the torps, which are providing Hothir significant economic advantages, and means that the eco is probably a lot closer than it appears. Alright, we have a lot of Caroleans versus... Oh my goodness. We have Portuguese Besteiro, so Portuguese crossbowmen. This is Lycap, and then the Naginatas, which I think should just go in only to slow these units down. Don't lose your Naginatas, because the Musketeer will do bonus damage in melee against the Naginatas. An artillery foundry comes up from Hothir. I like the idea. We need to see cannons. When you see all of this infantry, cannons are a great choice. But because he's gone so heavily into one unit, Carolean, he's getting countered hard by all of these archers. He's having to back up. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, guys. Dealing with a little bit of a cough. But that's okay. It's not going to impact me too bad. Look at this. At this point, Casper is up 9,000 points over Hothir. That's got to be a combination of stronger eco and countering very effectively the Carolean with his Yumi archers. As we see Hothir with another massive wave of Caroleans, and this time 5 veteran Hussars. The Hussars will absolutely melt Yumi archers if they do not have a response ready, and it looks to me like these guys are all caught out. A couple of vills will go down, but if Japan loses his entire army in the process, that's no good. Yeah, here we go. Hussars moving down to deal with the archers. This is a great choice. And then Caroleans putting the pressure on the Japanese base. Samurai will do what they can, but when it's, what, 39 Caroleans versus 5 Samurai? This is a... Oh, good move, Casper. Splitting up his army in half. He knows that they're going to die, so he's separating half the army to get eaten alive, while the other half successfully pulls back and engages with the Musketeer. He's doing what he's got to do in order to survive. Unfortunately for Casper, more Hussar on their way. So these archers are kind of sandwiched. Hussar here, Hussar here. You know, he doesn't really have a safe spot. Hothir is pulling this off with half the number of villagers that Casper has. More Caroleans coming in. Do we see anything in the way of artillery? Yes, we do. We have... What is this? A falconet shipment coming in, which I think is going to be great because Casper is focusing very heavily on Yumi archers, which makes a lot of sense, of course. He's wanting to counter the Caroleans. So infantry is the play for Japan, and when you see an awful lot of infantry, falconets will do the job. I think a little bit of a misplay here from Hothir, moving the cannons right next to the town center. But yeah, regardless, these infantry are just not long in this world. Yeah. At this point, does Casper even have an army? He's sending out sentries, he's sending out town defense, which is something. But I don't think it's enough at this point. This goes to show that economy isn't everything. The points, the scoreboard does not tell you the whole story. Hothir is still down about 5,000 points, but I'd say he is undoubtedly, undoubtedly winning this game. This town center's in trouble. Last few thousand HP. Here we go. Yeah, and more, what we have now, Ashigaru Musketeer. And I don't know if he's picking this because he's out of gold. I think Ashigaru Musketeer costs gold. This is just even worse of a choice. I think Casper's trying to make a switch just to make something happen, but Ashigaru Musketeer do not get a bonus against Caroleans like the Yumi do. And they're infantry, so they're still weak to the cannons. So you're pretty much fighting on Hothir's turf here, and I think this might be too little too late. While this fighting is going on, Casper losing an awful lot of villagers. I will give him this. The Ashigaru will, of course, be able to counter the Musketeer will. I'm sorry, the Ashigaru will be able to counter the Hussar will. So that looks really good. The Naginata Rider army on the way. You know, if you're going to raid, and maybe that's what you should do as Casper right now, because you are, when you're not able to take a straight fight, what you want to do is open up a new line of attack and maybe find a vulnerability in your opponent's economy. If he gets the Naginata out, wherever they are. Are they... Oh, here we go. Ah, here's the dojo. And I guess it's just spawning, respawning units. Okay. Yeah. Run with those Naginatas. Go across the map and see if maybe you can kill some vills. That's my only suggestion at this point. Trying to take out the Falconet. I appreciate the idea. Falconet stays up. These Yumi archers aren't going to last. Casper, allowing these shipments to build. He doesn't really know what to send at this point. Hothir also has one shipment. It's very easy to forget shipments in the heart of battle. Hakapellet's coming in for the Caroleans. That's the unique Dragoon for the Swedes. And there it is. Casper calls the GG. Game number 1 goes to Hothir. Well done. Let's check out game number 2. All right, guys. Here we are in game 2. Casper in the blue, playing as the British, versus Hothir in the red, playing as the Ottomans. And these are two civilizations we've seen a lot in this tournament so far. Ottomans, of course, being able to slowly create their vills automatically, not having to spend any resources. So they have a little bit of a slower eco, but an eco that's freed up for all kinds of early military pressure. There are a lot of options available to the Turks because of what they can pull off with that extra eco. Meanwhile, the British, their whole deal, of course, is they get additional villagers with every manor house. So we see 2 manor houses going down right away, and that will mean 2 additional villagers out of the gate alongside town center production, which gives the British a really strong early economic advantage. We can see here, the Brits have 9 vills right now. The Ottomans have 7. And that's before any kind of shipments, any kind of upgrades or anything. That's just the power of the manor house. And there we go, second manor house up, so now it's 10-7. A 3-vill lead. That's a combination of the Brits being fast at getting out extra vills early, and the Ottomans being slow at producing their vills. But don't ignore just how useful it is for the Ottomans to have that freed up eco. You can see right now, the Ottomans have 450 food right now, versus 50 for the British. And the reason why, of course, is the British have to actually pay for their food, for their bills, right? So, let's take a look at the map. We are on Rockies. Okay, we've got 2 trade posts. One on the north side, one on the south side. Or maybe you'd call that the east and the west. I don't know. Anyway, one on the north, one on the south. 2 poles of which are in Casper's base, 2 poles in Hothir's. So a pretty even map. This is a really solid 1v1 map. Hothir, of course, getting up a mosque as quickly as possible. The mosque brings in experience points, which is great for getting early shipments out. But on top of that, it also is useful for researching technologies that allow you to automatically produce your settlers faster and to raise the settler limit, because you start the game with a limit of 25 settlers, and that is not enough for an economy unless you're doing some kind of all-in early game push. So getting a mosque up quickly is a really smart idea. A Yoruk card being sent, and Hothir up to the Commerce Age. Casper, meanwhile, also on the way up to the next age. It's just the power of British Eco right there. Both players moving to the second age at about the 3-minute mark. This is some good Age of Empires. If the last game did not convince you of this, we are watching some really nice AoE 3. I can tell you, Hothir is a buddy of mine. I don't know how much Age of Empires 3 experience he has. I know I play Age of Empires 2 with him all the time, and so I know that Hothir has a really good grasp of the fundamentals of AoE-style strategy gameplay. But, you know, the particulars of what counters what and making sure you're utilizing the most out of your shipments, I'm noticing he's just sticking with the beginner decks, not really toying around with them. And so he's relying on just his foundationals. Casper, I've talked with Casper a little bit in the tournament. I know that Casper's a fan of the channel and has watched some of my videos in the past. Again, the subscribe to IK deck. My hat is off to you. And I know he said, hey, I've been paying attention to the videos and I'm trying to bring some of that into the game. So I think that's a really cool move for Casper and will probably mean that his strategies are a little bit more in tune with the nuances of AoE 3. Will that be enough? We've got to find out. There are, I think, 2 native camps. In both players' bases is a Klamath settlement. The Klamath, I've never really used them before, but they actually seem really cool. Take a look at this. We have a Klamath rifleman, which costs 100 food, the same amount as a villager, and 30 wood. It is a skirmisher that can slowly gather from all natural resources except for mines and huntable animals. So you can actually throw down a town center and use this as kind of a little mini temporary second town center. I don't know how their gather rates compare, but you can put out Klamath riflemen and put them onto wood. Or put them onto a cherry orchard, or let me see, you can't do mines and you can't do like deer. But other than that, it's free game. And so, supporting your infantry with extra villagers, that could be really nice, especially when you're the Ottomans and your economy, develops so slowly. Getting out some riflemen might be a really good idea. I like the sound. And then, of course, if you're attacked, especially if you're attacked with musketeer, which the British love doing, well, then having a skirmisher, they're a fighting unit that do bonus damage against heavy infantry. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Plus, we got our text, Klamath strategy. Okay, so that lets your units do more damage as a warrior. So your Klamath units. Okay. Klamath Huckleberry Feast. You get 150 food in crates for every 3 minutes of game length. All right, so that's good. If the game goes long, you pop that down, you get a whole bunch of extra food. It's really nice. Work ethos that allows all of your villagers to gather slightly faster. That's really nice. I like this settlement. I'm making a mental note for the next time I play a game with the Klamath in them. That's a really cool native camp. The Cheyenne is in the middle. We've already talked about the Cheyenne from the last game. I would say worth picking up if we see a Civ go heavy into Cav. Otherwise, maybe leave them alone. Now here we see Hothir setting up for a rush. He's got 5 Janissaries and 3 Yoruks. No, 4 Yoruks. So he's sending 4 Vils over. And look at the eco advantage. The Brits have 34 villagers to the Ottomans' 18. So Hothir, I feel, is definitely going... I don't know if I want to say all in. He's banking a lot on this early pressure. He needs to get kills. He needs to slow down that British economy so that he can continue to build a devastating force. Back again. Casper, meanwhile, predictably building Longbowmen. The English unique unit is a archer with an awful lot of range. Does bonus damage against heavy infantry, so the Janissaries, just like the Caroleans, just like the Musketeer. Janissaries are heavy infantry. They will take bonus damage from longbowmen and crossbowmen and archers. Everything in that vein. Let's see. I want to look at Casper's deck real quick. He sent both Vil cards, putting in some resources. One of the things I'm noticing, and I think it was smart for Hothir to go on the offense and try a rush, because looking at Hothir's deck, I see a bunch of resources, and I see an awful lot of stat-boosting cards. You can produce infantry faster, you produce cav faster, you get special technologies in your church. Medicine is an amazing card. It lets you train villagers cheaper and faster. The advanced arsenal, bonus HP for your musketeers, bonus damage for your musketeers. So musketeer heavy, I think. A lot of bonus stat cards. What he does not have in his Age 2 deck are anything in the way of shipment cards. He is forced to use the economy that he is developing with his Vils in order to fund the defense of his base. And if Hothir is able to hit hard enough, then Casper's not able to rely on his deck to save him, and he goes down. Now the problem is, Hothir is going heavy into Janissaries. He's getting countered by Longbowmen and accidentally splitting up his army. So these 3 Janissaries are going to have a hard time getting out. All right, 1 down. I'm actually surprised he made it out. I figured that would be at least 2 Janissaries down. So at this point, you got to figure out what is your response to archers. And Hothir, I think, kind of leaning in on his AoE 2 skills. He knows you go knights, and knights can absolutely crush archers, assuming there's not a big enough ball. So that's what he's doing here in AoE 3, building the Ottoman unique unit, the Delhi. Now, the Delhi is a little bit weaker than the regular Hussar as far as HP goes, but they attack quickly, and they move quickly. And so they are kind of a lightning shock trooper sort of unit. They can absolutely melt the longbowmen. If the longbowmen don't have an anti-cav response, the Delis could do some really cool things here. No, Delis are not a sandwich market, at least not in AoE 3. The Delhi is a weapon of war. Alright, he's found 2 sheep. Pretty cool. You know, I applaud Hothir on that. It's easy to forget treasures once the game starts, but there are some good ones out there, and 2 sheep don't hurt. Okay. So he's idling the British eco a little bit here. I like it. I like it. He is within the range of the town center, so they're slowly taking damage from the TC. This could be big. This could be big right here. All right, he needs to get on these guys. Oh, no, look at that. He's just moving past. An attack move maybe would have been helpful there, or just some way of keeping eyes on... Oh, the eco survives. All right, here we go. Delhi's jumping onto the Musketeer. Oh, no, the Musketeer with their melee attack. And Casper's put his Musketeers in melee mode. So they will walk up and make sure that that bonus damage is done with their bayonets to the cavalry. The Delhi go down quickly. Meanwhile, the Janissaries were opening fire onto the longbowmen. So definitely not the fight Hothir wanted to take. He certainly wanted to swap his unit composition around, have the Delis on the longbowmen, have the Musketeer on the cav. This stings. Casper with a 15 vil lead at this point. Falconets coming out. Casper's in the 3rd age. That was. I wonder when he got the 3rd age. We'll have to rewind the video and check that. But Casper, moving up to the 3rd age, he's got Falconets coming out. I love it. I think a lot of times. Okay, I'm not saying this is an easy win. It's not. There are ways to counter this. But because a lot of people don't go heavy into cavalry, it seems like the first player who gets cannons out oftentimes is the player who wins. So Casper getting out some Falconets with his deck. And now that he's in age 3, he has not just the Falconet shipment, which is one of the best shipments in the game. If you are in age 3, there's a good chance the very first card you should send should be your 2 Falconets card. If you have it in your deck, use it. Alright, so the British getting out their 2 Falconet cards. 2 Falconet card. If Hothir allows his Janissaries to get obliterated by the cannons, he's in a lot of trouble. Hothir, meanwhile, in the 2nd age, got a fair bit of gold, a lot of wood, not so much in the way of food. And I think everything that he is putting in, take a look at this. He's got, more Janissaries coming out. He's trying to rely on sheer numbers, which I applaud. I mean, sometimes just the weight of your army is enough to win. You can forget about counters and just overwhelm your opponent. So the problem is, though, all of that food going into Janissaries mean you're not taking up the next stage. And if Hothir's not careful, Casper in age 3 can start doing some things you just can't do in age 2, and that could make the difference. Casper moving on to mills, getting up not 1, not 2, but a 3rd mill. So I'm expecting an awful lot of food production from the British. Yeah, at this point, Hothir has about 200 food. Let's just round it up to 200. Casper has about 250% of that. Run. You got to pull back. If you're going to rely on Janissary numbers, you've got to get them into a big ball of death. The outpost is nice. I like the outpost. That provides something of a fallback point. Now in AoE 3, you cannot tower drop a civilization like you can in AoE 2. There is a radius around the beginning town center where you are not allowed to build. So I almost wonder if Hothir is just trying to plug the choke point, or if maybe he was trying a tower drop and then realized, wait a minute, I can't actually do that. Oh no, here we go. The Falconets are in. The Janissary is taking damage. That could have been worse. That could have been worse for the Ottoman. But 28 vills versus 51 vills. I don't think that vill counts are as much of a predictor of who's going to win the game in AoE 3 as it is in AoE 2, but it can definitely tell a story. And right now, I think this is Casper's game to lose.
Ready.
All right.
Emrin.
More Janissaries coming out. More delis coming out. And a fort coming in to counter the Ottoman, to counter the Ottoman outpost. So this is definitely under the control of the British, with Fort Monkton taking over that choke point. A bunch of outposts here. This will slow down the British push. Oh, those Falconets. If the delis can loop around, where do those delis even go? Where are they right now? If the delis can loop around, they may be able to snipe those Falconets. But you cannot move the Janissaries into range of these cannons. Here we go. Yeah, now you only have 2 delis. Outposts are falling to the Falconets. And here we go. The Janissaries getting in range of the cannons. Ouch. Ouch. Musketeers wisely getting on the delis. I don't think that they're going to be able to take out these Falconets. They are not. Both delis go down. 2 Falconets remain. This Janissary horde is down. And that means this outpost is down, and that may mean this entire forward base is down. this is a hard position to be in as Hothir. I mean, at this point, Casper has 10,000 points over his opponent. Again, that doesn't mean that Casper's won the game. We saw something similar in the last match, and Hothir demonstrated to us how, you know, the right composition and the right gumption can overcome a difference like that. But I think that the British have an advantage, and they're building an artillery foundry. Good move, Casper. Not just relying on the 2 falconets that you started with, but throwing down an artillery foundry to get more out will absolutely ensure that musketeers, janissaries are not going to be an effective option if you get out a bunch of falconets. Now look at how quickly the Ottoman eco works, though. He's already got the resources now, or just about, to go up to the 3rd age.
Ready.
We have the British Explorer, indubitably. That is the best name for a British Explorer ever. Explorer, indubitably. Moving around, collecting resources. Alongside 5 Hussar, kind of waiting in the wings here on the flank. It's at this point, it's tough because the British have the Musketeer as their royal unique unit. Their royal unit. So when they get up into the Imperial Age, their upgrade for the Musketeer is better than other civilizations' upgrades for the Musketeer. And so I don't think Casper minds going heavy infantry versus heavy infantry. He certainly has the numbers. He's got the cannons as backup. Here we go.
Yes.
Hussar moving into raid. Let's pay attention to both of these battles at the same time. Yeah, and at this point, I think Hothir reaches the 3rd age. So now, what does he have as options? He can now ship some units, which would be really helpful. He needs to ship some units. Okay. Yeah, the forward base is falling apart for Hothir. And then the Hussar absolutely cleaning up the Turkish economy back at home. At this point, yeah, Hothir calling the GG. The British have 58 vills. The Ottomans have 32. Even with your free villagers, that's a really tough deficit to come back from. Hothir realizes, calls the GG. Guys, we have a series 1-1 for both players. Let's move on to our tiebreaker, Game 3. And see who moves on into the semifinals. Okay, guys, here we are with the final match in this quarterfinal series. We have Casper in the blue playing as the Ottomans. So we already know plenty about them. I won't speak about the Ottomans again. But for a first in the tournament, we have Hothir in the red playing as the Russians. The Russians are a really fun civilization, and I think a civ that plays to Hothir's strengths. They build everything in bulk. So they build at a discount, and their military units are a little bit weaker than standard, but they deal with the power of numbers. And so even their villagers, you have to spend 260 food, but you get a batch of 3 villagers at once instead of 1. And so obviously, if you do the math on that, the normal civilization has to spend 300 food to get 3 vills. You are saving resources in the long run. They also get the blockhouse, which is a barracks and an outpost all in one. A really cool building. And a couple of unique cavalry as well, including the Cossack. So maybe we'll see some more cav play. Who knows? All right, we find ourselves on the map Baja California, which is kind of cool. What I noticed right away is this is a really interesting land map with some water options for resources. I would love to see these players send a vill, go heavy into wood, kind of like a 4 lakes map in AoE 2. Put a bunch of vills on wood, go build a dock, and start claiming the fish and claiming the whale on the map. If you take advantage of the water, your opponent does not, and you're not punished for it early, that can give you a really significant eco gain in the long run. Ottoman player picking up the 90 wood shipment. That'd be really helpful early on in getting some of his earliest buildings houses, sort of techs up. Let's take a look at the native camps real quick. The Navajo Rifleman is a stealthy skirmisher that runs quickly. I love the idea of this unit if you are playing a civilization that does not get access to a skirmisher in the Second Age. They are out there. They do exist. It is not fun to not have an anti-heavy infantry option because you don't get cannons, of course, till Age 3. So being able to get the Navajo Rifleman up is a really nice possibility. All units, cav and infantry, get 5% more HP. All villagers gather gold or coin faster, which is really nice. And then Navajo sheep raising skills let your herd animals feed much more quickly on a livestock. Okay, the Navajo shepherds thing. I'm really curious. I don't know how useful that is. I don't see a lot of AoE 3 games where players prioritize building a livestock pen and getting up a bunch of sheep and fattening them up and killing them. And, maybe if you put a bunch of micro into your economy like that, this would be very worthwhile. But off the top of my head, I don't know how useful that is. Casper, already up at the 3.5-minute mark, nearly up to the Commerce Age. Hothir, still in the Exploration Age. It wouldn't surprise me if he starts taking up... Again, excuse me, I'm sorry. Taking up to the next age after this shipment of 3 vills comes in. Again, Hothir relying on just kind of your basic deck. Distributivism. It's a really great card. For the rest of the game, a small trickle of wood enriches you. And I know in my experience... wood is really important, particularly because you have to throw down so many houses, because once you start training military, like in the barracks, for example, every single unit you produce, if you produce muskets, they come in a batch of 5 automatically, so you have to have 5 population space available. If you pick up strelets, or streletzi, which is their unique skirmisher, they have a lot, there's a big number of them, but they are weak mano a mano. But if you're picking them up, that's 10 to a batch. So you need an entire house's worth of population just to support a single pickup of Streletsy. So you need to build a lot of houses. And that's why Distributivism, I think, is a really good card. Even better if you're wanting to throw down an awful lot of block houses. Yeah, that's just a really good choice. Speaking of which, we see the Ottoman player getting down 2 barracks right away. Notice this, by the way. This is one thing I don't like. In this barracks, he had produced 2 Janissaries, and then over here, he queued up 3. I wish that when you clicked on a group of production buildings, that you said, you know, shift-click, I need 5 more, that it would smartly distribute your order. Like, here, I wish that if it clicked 3 more, it would have gone into this batch, and then he'd have 5 right away. Instead, now, he's got 4 here and 2 here, and it splits up weirdly. I don't like how AoE 3 handles the distribution of queued units. If you've ever noticed that when playing the game, that frustrates me. Regardless, Casper. And that's not Casper. I'm not talking about Casper. I'm talking about the game, just to be clear. But Casper here has 8 Janissaries. Hothir committed to an early trading post, which, again, is a great pickup if it's allowed to go unpressured. But it is being pressured. Meanwhile, look at this. Look at just how gutsy this is. Casper has built a trade post all the way on Hothir's side of the map. If this gets seen, it can be knocked down very easily. Oh no, more. 17 Janissaries. Hothir. He has sent the Quartermaster, which ships wood. He needs to collect that wood as soon as possible. I would take these vills off trees, get them under the wood, get them down as fast as you can, because you need to get some blockhouses up. Those blockhouses will not just let you produce units, but because of their outpost-like attack, it will maybe repel this early assault. I like the positioning of the Strelets, or the Streletsi, letting them kind of absorb the fire while you get this blockhouse up. Just grab more. You live or die on the basis of this blockhouse. Get it up. Get it up. That's what I'd say. I think he might have thought his Strelets would win that fight, but again, mano a mano Streletsi are pretty weak. So, just needing to This is not going to be a good unit. The Cossacks are the Russian Hussar-like unit. They will not do well against heavy infantry. If he wants to go raid Casper's base and maybe get some Vil kills of his own, that would be a good pickup. We see Hothir trying to build a second blockhouse. I like this move. He needs to get out maybe Minutemen. He needs to... This is hard because he doesn't... His only other unit in the deck is Cossacks. And Cossacks will not do well against Janissaries. You have to get this barracks up. This blockhouse has to go up. Come on, come on. There it is. Now, get in the TC right away. Don't let these delis get a bunch of free kills. Alright, so now we have 18 Vils for the Russians versus 24 for the Ottomans. Not the worst deficit in the world, but I am concerned about... Yeah, he's bringing the Cossacks back just to try in a last-ditch effort to do something. But Janissaries, heavy infantry, they will do bonus melee damage against cavalry. These Cossacks will go down. I think what he had to do there with these units, his only real option was to move and try to raid his opponent and just, you know, keep the pressure on. If Casper just stuck with the units he's got here, I don't think it's enough. I think the town center stays up. Yeah, we see more Cossacks coming out with the shipment. Over here. Yeah. Cossacks card is shipped. Notice, by the way, Hothir's also picked up now a trade post on Casper's side of the base. Delhi's coming in. Yeah, and now he has called in the militiamen. Good choice. He had to do that. But I think this might be too little too late. I don't know. Does Hothir have resources? He has food, but he doesn't have a market, so he can't sell that food. And I don't remember, do Strelets cost gold or they just cost food? Yeah, here we go. Strelets coming out. He needs this unit to come out quickly. Yeah, he's shipping the Reformist Tsar card. It's a beautiful card. If the game is going well for you, you save a lot of resources with the unique techs at the church in order to tech up all of your units to the next age. It's a really, really cool card. But it won't be terribly helpful in this situation. The TC is on its last 1500 HP. Villagers are going down to Janissaries. Casper's over here saying, you tried to Ottoman rush me, let me show you how it's done. And pulling it off successfully. Yeah, at this point, these Vils will likely all go down. There are a few that have escaped to the north. Yeah, these houses going down. I mean, at this point, I understand Hothir not wanting to call the GG. You know, this is the live or die moment for your tournament dreams. But I think Casper has pretty effectively sealed the deal here. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Casper is moving on to the semifinals. I don't see anything that Hothir can do at this point. He's trying to build a new blockhouse. I think he's thinking maybe if I get up, you know, an awful lot of food. I've already got a bunch of food in the bank. Maybe if I get out a bunch of Strelets, I can wipe the floor with these Janissaries, and then maybe I can put some pressure on my opponent and somehow bring the game back. I applaud the tenacity. I think that's the move you have to make. But here we go. We see Casper has found the blockhouse, and right away, Hothir knows there's no chance. He calls the GG. Hothir, well played, man. Well played. This was a really great best-of-3 series, just like the last one. A really solid set of back and forth from both players. Hothir, my hat is off to you. Thanks for joining the tournament. But Casper, good job fighting in this quarterfinal series. You've gone from a qualifier to a quarterfinal, and you've now moved your way up into one of our semifinal battles. Good job. Good luck with the next games. Guys, thanks so much for watching this. If you enjoy the Noob Cup, Leave me a comment telling me about it. Let me know what kind of things you like the most about this series. Like the videos, subscribe to the channel. We have more Noob Cup coming up. The finals will be here before you know it. It's going to be an incredible series, I have no doubt. Thanks, guys, for watching. For now, this is the Iron Kaiser, signing off.